We're going to practice doing a cutout in Photoshop using this picture of a penguin. The first step we're going to do is duplicate our background layer by going over to the Layers palette, two-finger click or control click on the word background, choose Duplicate Layer, and then hit OK. So we're going to actually be editing this background copy and not the background itself. Click on the eyeball next to the background so that it is hidden, although it does still exist, we just can't see it. Now we're going to make this background copy a layer mask. To do that, we're going to click the little rectangle with the circle inside it at the bottom, and it brings up this white rectangle in the layer indicator. And so how this works is if we paint on the layer mask, it will show up as transparent as long as we have the background on, as long as we have it hidden. So just to try it, choose the paintbrush tool, choose a brush size of 100, and then click and drag over your image and you'll see that it disappears. Now what's great about doing it this way is if you need this information back, you can get it back by erasing what you've done. If you click on the eraser tool and drag it over what you drew, then the image comes back. What's great about doing it this way is if you accidentally erase somebody's foot or their nose or something, it's not gone. We can get it back by erasing the changes you made to the layer mask. So the most useful tool when doing a cutout is the quick selection tool, which is right here. So we'll select that. You'll notice that at the top you have the selection tool, the plus and the minus, and a brush size. Depending on what you are trying to do, you might use all three. We're going to select the penguin. To do that, I'm going to use a larger brush size. I'm going to use 70 pixels. So what I did is I clicked on the word brush and I brought my diameter up. My hardness is at 100%. And then I'm going to drag the quick selection tool all over the penguin. And you'll notice that it does a pretty good job. I'm just holding down my mouse and dragging all over the penguin. I want his flipper, his feet. Oops. Okay, so we'll talk about what happens then. So I just accidentally grabbed the whole corner. I also grabbed the sand between his toes. And I need a little bit more of his beak. To zoom in Photoshop, like in most software, you hold down Command and tap the plus. This might get a little upset. Okay, so I need a little bit more of his beak, so since I still have the plus brush selected, I can click what I want and I'll select that. Now I don't really want this feather that's stuck to his beak, so to get rid of it, I'm going to click on the minus brush and then do that. Now there was some other, okay, oops, I missed some feathers here. Click on the plus brush, select these feathers. It does a pretty good job of guessing what you're trying to include. And then down here, I actually don't want this background that I accidentally grabbed. So you're going to use the plus and minus brushes until you have successfully selected what you actually want. You can change the brush size if you need it to be more exact until you have a selection you're happy with. Once you have a selection you're happy with, we're going to refine the edge of your selection. We can do additional cleanup afterwards. Just kind of scroll around, make sure you're happy with your selection. Don't need that. Get out of there. Okay, so now once we are done with this, we're going to go up to Refine Edge, click on that. You'll notice that it outlines the penguin, but you'll also notice that there sometimes can be a little bit of a shadow, which is not usually something that we want. We usually want a pretty tight edge on it, and so you can play with the contractor expand on the side to make sure that you don't, oh, maybe that was my fault. So if you have it at 0, it might be pretty clean already. You can play with giving it a little bit of extra space, or you could play with pulling it inward if you really want to make sure you don't get any of the outside. Mine's pretty good. I'm going to bring it in just a tiny bit to -10, -5. That looks pretty good. Then the other thing that I change is the radius. You also notice as you change the radius, it will change the transparency of the edge. So that's definitely not what we want. I don't want him to be all fuzzy like that. I would do 0. That's really harsh. Usually about 1 pixel is good. Maybe a little less to give it a sharp enough edge. Okay, so once you're done and you're with adjusting it and you're happy with how it looks, you're going to hit OK. Now the problem is that we have now selected the penguin, but we don't want to erase the penguin. We want to erase everything around it. If you go up to Select and choose Inverse, then now instead of the penguin being selected, the background is selected. To erase using a layer mask, you paint. Now since I want to fill this entire selection with paint, I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to do it. So I clicked on the paint bucket tool and then I click in the area I want to paint. Look, our penguin got cut out. To deselect, you do Command D. To check your work, you can zoom in. This is pretty good. But let's say that I decided that I accidentally cut off too much of his toes here, for example, or I need to get some of this information back. So if I want to get some of this information back, I painted it to get rid of it, so to get it back I need to erase it. It's kind of counterintuitive. So I could click on the eraser tool and then drag over the area I want to restore, and it will bring that area back. Control Z just undoes the most recent action. So let's say you're happy with this and you want to apply this mask. You can go to, let's see. Okay, layer and then layer mask and then apply. You'll notice that now our background copy is this image here. We can still click on this eyeball, which would bring the entire background image back. But normally what you're going to want to do now is save it as a TIFF. Now, actually, you know what? Before you save it, it's a good idea to crop it to the size, the final size you want it to be. On the right, this tool with the diagonal and the 2 crossbars is what we use to crop. In Jostens, it's usually in your best interest to have a cutout cropped as tightly as possible. So I brought the handles in to just about exactly the size of the penguin. That's still pretty good. Okay, once you have the handles where you'd like them, you can double click. It will bring the image smaller. Then go to File, Save As. In order for this to work, you have to save it as a TIFF if you want transparency in the back. Then hit Save. You have to make sure it's set up with Macintosh here, and Save Transparency has to be selected, and then hit OK, and then hit OK again. I think it asks you about other stuff. Maybe not. Alright, looks like we're done. That's it.